before the news, Heather, and we got to volunteer?
I think it made me go downhill a lot mentally, because I was already quite low when I wasn't doing that. And then obviously I think I kind of felt like, well, if I can't even succeed at volunteering, what hope do I have of ever having a successful career or anything like that? So.
And you became incredibly jealous of your sisters at this time, didn't you? Because
Yeah.
I know in the book it says that you were jealous over the fact that they could quickly jump in the shower, be out in minutes, but you'd have to stay for ages because you have special soap, because you've got another condition, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got atopic eczema as well, so nothing. I think I just got into a position in my head where I felt like, why is everything simple for them and everything's really difficult for me? And obviously driving was a big thing, because obviously I can't learn to drive, and that's a lot of your independence. So I just got into a really bad state inside my head.
But fortunately, somebody changed that for you, because we've got the arrival now of your sister's daughter, Lily.
Yeah.
Your beautiful
Lily.
niece.
Yeah.
I've seen photos of her today.
Yeah.
She looks gorgeous.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So she lifted your spirits, didn't she?
Yes.
Now, someone else arrived on the scene too who became very important. And this was one of your mum's friends, Layla. Tell us about that period in your life.
Yeah, well, Layla worked with my mum, but she's my age, not my mum's age.
Jackie's pulling a face at the stage.
I just wanted to put it out there. Yeah, so she's one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Truly.
And she suggested you chatted to a friend of hers, didn't she? Called Erin. Tell us about Erin.
So Erin was Layla's friend. She had epilepsy when she was a child, which obviously not for everyone, but people tend to grow out of childhood epilepsy. But she still knew what seizures were like and everything, so we bonded really quickly over that. But unfortunately, she had a brain tumour which was causing hers, and she passed away. But it's actually
today,
her birthday.
yes, I know. It couldn't be better timing, because today would have been Erin's birthday. You were obviously meant to join us today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
What a coincidence, yeah.
I know. Now, it's clear from the book that she touched your life, but you presumably thought that once Erin had died that you'd lose touch with Layla.
Yeah, I think I just thought, wow, what if because that's what my brain is is very what if. I was quite what if the connection between me and Layla is strictly down to Erin? So if she was gone, what would happen to us? But we're just so close. She's my best friend. She's incredible, and I honestly couldn't imagine life without her at this point.
Okay, now Erin, you had known her for about a year.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, and it's clear from the book that she obviously touched your life.
Yeah.
Now, when she unfortunately died, that led to increased levels of anxiety, so much so, according to the book, that you were frightened by the doorbell.
I think that was kind of on top of everything else that was going on. I was so I do have a lot of fear about death, so I think that happening then kind of pushed me over the edge of everything else. I was so worried about people getting in cars. I was so worried about just everything that you can think of, really. I went very scared of my own shadow. Yeah.
And as a result, though, you got help, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And I think that's the most important thing I've ever done.
And the doctor prescribed antidepressants?
Yeah.
Okay, and they obviously helped to stabilise your mood.
Yeah, they help to stabilise things and to just keep the anxiety I still have it, but it keeps it at a certain point that I can manage.
Now,
You
go
wouldn't
on.
know, would you?
No,
To look at
absolutely.
Georgie that
No,
got any
no.
condition. They talk
No.
about the invisible illness. I mean, she looks so bubbly and so lovely.
She is so bubbly and so lovely. You wouldn't know what was going
Sorry
on
to
in the
interrupt you.
background.
Carry on,
No,
you're
no,
fine.
it's
Yeah,
fine.
You really are an inspiration.
Well, I thank you very much. I just don't want to. I don't want to be sad all the time. Unfortunately, sometimes it can't be helped, and I do have those days. And since having the book published, I've had a lot of, I wouldn't say trouble, but I've had to convince people, especially online, of kind of, no, my life's not perfect now because I've written a book. I still have depression. I still have these days. I'm in treatment with a clinical psychologist. So things aren't perfect, but I try my best and try and stay positive and try and always talk if something's affecting me.
Now we come to the final phase in your book, which is headed now. And this is all about you writing, because you describe writing as becoming an outlet for your inner turmoil.
Yeah.
How did it come about, this writing?
I wrote for my whole, like, as long back as I can remember, but just as a hobby. I used to just make things up. But I've always wrote. Never thought about it for a career, though. I always wanted something very, very stable. But then I just wrote because I decided it's helping me. And every time I wrote, it felt like a relief. And then obviously the volunteering went wrong, a lot of things went wrong, and I started putting bits of paper together and started writing things out in a better way. And then it just became.
So when did you decide that you were going to try and get it published?
It was already written for the most part, just the ending, and obviously stuff like acknowledgements and stuff, that none of that had been written. Like, everyone was telling me, and I just kept thinking, oh no. And then I thought, I wonder if, like, and then I actually remember waking up one day and thinking, if I had this book when I was 18 and just diagnosed, that would have changed so much for me.
So
I had that.
So you wrote the book not just for you, but for other people out there.
Yeah, more for other people, really, because it's just, for me, it was just to get it all off my chest.
Yes, yes, it would be very therapeutic.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write it?
I think about a year, all in all, but from things to do with uni and like when I first felt like kind of depressive episodes, and I've always kept everything, so all those little notes helped, because I could remember how I felt in that moment.
Okay, so how did you go about getting it published?
So I sent out to a few agents. They all said no, which sounds kind of bad, but they all gave me such nice feedback. It was like the really kind rejections. And that helped me as well, because I was like, it's first time, it's not perfect, there are things I would change now. And then I decided to send out to publishing companies where you don't necessarily need an agent, and it was one of them who said, we'd like to publish it.
And it's amazing about Georgie, because she just mentioned it in passing to Steve and I before, that actually she's been nominated for a book award, the James Tate Black Prizes for Fiction and Biography. Now tell us about what publishers do in the country, because they don't send every book, do they? There's a selection process.
It's a selection. I think it depends what the book is about, and compared to what the award is looking for, and that kind of, I don't really know much about it.
So the results are going to be announced in August?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I'm not going to get it, let's just...
I don't know, being
know.
nominated is such an amazing achievement.
Maybe if it was like my 20th book, but it's my first.
Well, I think it's because it's your first book.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Now there's a second book in the pipeline, isn't there? Tell us about that.
So my second book, writing something that I just made up. And
so this next book is all fiction. It's nothing to do with the real life memoirs of yourself,
fiction.
Right? Yeah, okay.
I think everything comes from something you've experienced, but no, it is fiction. But so that is nearly finished. but everyone I meet is like, when are you doing the second one to this?
Absolutely, because the first book takes us up to about June last year. Now,
maybe a bit before,
Okay,
before.
Tell us about this week though, because talking to you and seeing you makes you think everything is wonderful in your world. What's happened this week, Georgie?
So on last Friday, I had a tonic-clonic seizure in my sleep, so I hurt my both shoulder blades really. So kind of had a few bad days physically, and then on Monday we were out and I had an absent seizure, which I still have trouble with them.
What's an absent seizure?
So that's where I'm still conscious. I don't fall, I don't shake or anything, don't convulse, but I'm not there.
How horrible that must be.
And you don't recognise your mum, do you then?
Sometimes, no. I mean, it's very quick. Like, basically, as soon as it's happened, it's normal again. But in that few seconds, I haven't got a clue. I don't know where I am, which is another reason I can't really do things on my own, because, like, that could happen and I could walk out into a road. Or
you
anything,
just never know,
anything.
Yeah, it's so scary.
So you never know, and I still have trouble with the absent seizures, just getting my head around them, I suppose.
So what happened on Tuesday?
So on Monday I had that, and then Monday night I started getting a headache across the left side of my head. Took paracetamol, went to bed early, and then in the night I just couldn't sleep, lost the feeling in my left arm. I literally, it's like pins and needles. So she was like, let's go to hospital, and I was like, no, it'll be fine by the time I wake up. So I forced myself to sleep, but when I woke up I couldn't feel that left side of my face either, and the headache was worse. And we got an emergency doctor's appointment, but we rang 111 because it got worse. And I can take things, but I just couldn't take it at all. And then they said, no, like, take her to hospital. Those are like stroke symptoms. And luckily it wasn't that. They think it's some kind of migraine, but they said you've definitely got weakness on your left side. So I still haven't got full, like, feeling in my left arm, but...
One to keep an eye on, and I think maybe next time go to hospital as soon as you maybe get the headache.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it's well, we know how dangerous a stroke can be, and it wasn't a stroke, but you never know, do you?
Okay. Now, obviously, at this stage, we've got to turn to who you describe as a rock, who's always there for you. We've got to turn to Jackie and tell us, what is it like living with Georgie? Because not only have you had to experience the teenage years that we've all experienced with our own kids, but you've had all these other issues to deal with. So what's it like from your perspective as a mum?
She's a dream.
Oh.
What can I say?
That's it. What do you want?
No, it has. It's been tough because she can't do the normal stuff, just going out and being independent. So it is hard, and I go into fight or battle mode, always protective, as I am of all of them. I've got to have her back for her. So.
Okay, and you must be incredibly proud of her. What do you feel when you think about... I know Georgie is very sort of unassuming and doesn't think she's achieved anything, but the rest of us in the studio think she's absolutely fabulous. What do you think? I mean, how proud are you of her?
I think it's amazing. It's the only book I've read from back to front.
Well, that tells you something, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought I'd keep it short for me mum.
Oh, I must go back a little. You talked about dancing very early on in the programme this morning. I get the feeling that's come from your mum. Have you got something to do with dancing in particular?
Absolutely not. I
just got this feeling that you were... Oh, really?
And so when I had the girls, I was a single mum, and I didn't want them hanging on the street, so I gave the dance, and she gave a short go at jiu-jitsu, but she wasn't. She's more interested
that was your
in the tough
grandfather,
shot.
wasn't it?
My granddad dragged me to jiu-jitsu and was like...
Oh, that was right. It was after you had
After
that little
bullying.
incident of bullying.
Yeah.
I remember now. We didn't talk about that, did we?
She needs to learn how to hit back, and I remember him so clearly, and he said to him, if it's not in her to hit back, she will never hit back.
Yeah.
God.
So that was over an incident. Did it happen at school or something? Or?
Yeah, it was a while. It never. I mean, I say luckily, but as I've grown up, I've realised how much mental damage you can have. Luckily, though, it never became physical. But I was at primary school. It was very clever on their part. I had a teacher there who I'm still in touch with, who is incredible. She watched it and couldn't see it. They were very, very careful with what they did, and unfortunately, it kind of damaged my school life. I totally forgiven them, like moved past it, but it was very hard to talk about initially.
Yeah.
As an adult, because I didn't see how much mental damage it had done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also, Jackie, when we came in this morning, you mentioned that you've been here previously. So you've got some connections with the health park. Was it your dad or somebody was in it?
Yeah, my dad was treated here. Well, she was one, so it had been the first time 25 years ago.
All right.
He was in the wards here.
Yeah.
Well, on one of the wards in the hospital or in the cancer centre, where was it? Was it?
The cancer centre.
Yeah. Oh, right.
You know, they
Back 20
gave
years ago, yeah.
the actual cancer. They said you'll live 12 months, and I always think this place gave him 13 years.
Wow.
I got to know my granddad.
Because he was such an inspiration to you, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was the dad figure, because I didn't
Yeah.
have the dad, and he was the dad figure, and
But it's always nice to get a connection with the health park from any of our
of
guests that come in
course.
here,
Yeah.
because, well, it is. Yeah,
I
it is.
can
yeah,
remember he came over, he was getting a biopsy, and he had a reaction emphatically to the anaesthetic, so that he came over here and he had to have a needle through his chest, and he was sat outside shaking, and a nurse came up to him and said, Mr. Peterson, are you okay? And he said, I'm so scared. And she got hold of his hand, and he always used to say, and she just said, don't worry, it'll be fine.
And I bet you
You'll be
remembered
fine.
that.
Oh,
yeah, you never
Above
forget
everything.
that.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just kind words.
Just touching.
Isn't it,
Yeah,
about
they are very caring here. They are.
But
yeah.
I always say I got to know my granddad because they gave him 13 years when he was supposed to have one.
Well, which you wouldn't have had, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely brilliant.
And then obviously, unfortunately, he got it again. I would never have had that influence.
So you take a positive from a negative in a way there,
Absolutely.
which is good. Yeah, see, that's your outlook on life. Is actually very positive. Yeah. And speaking of positivity, you talked before about publishers sending back, this no, I'm not going to publish your book. But for you to get some constructive criticism back from those publishers is a massive plus, because they didn't have to do that.
They don't have to do that.
So
that's what I took from it, is they've took time to either help me on ways to improve or tell me why they couldn't. And I just think they don't have to they're under no obligation to do that. They can just say, no, it's not for us, and that'd be the end of it, and you have to take that.
Yeah.
And they gave me so much to kind of, it doesn't look like much to someone else probably, but constructive criticism that I took from it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think you've alluded to it on your website, you said that anyone who's thinking of publishing a book, if you get criticism or whatever you call it, constructive criticism from a publisher, take it on board, because that's free advice, and
100%.
genuinely. And that's not the first time I've heard that. I think that book fest we went to in West Kirby had the three artists, or the three authors, should I say, that were on then, all said very similar. Take it on board what they tell you, and they've all are all successful authors now, So it is, absolutely. And Austin Macaulay is who published your book this time round. And do they get first refusal on your fiction or novel? Your fiction.
I have to show them the next book. They can either say that they want to publish it, and I can say yes or no, or they can say, oh, that's not something we want to publish, and then I can go to somewhere else, but they see it first. They've been really good. I had so many questions, so much anxiety-filled questions about everything, and they just understood completely. The amount of times I was like, I'm really sorry for asking this, but they were like, you're a first-time author, we understand there's questions.
Yeah, and that's like, Janine, isn't it, you dealt with it?
Yeah, Janine is the marketing.
Yeah, she seems very... I've only spoke to her on email, but she always seems very nice, you know, yeah.
Yeah, she's lovely.
Brilliant.
So. But the whole process has been really quite nice with them, so... Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I wanted some details off you of your Twitter site, your Instagram and things like that, so people can have a look at this book and your website as well, and they can look for themselves. And yes, you're still listening to Radio Clatterbridge from the heart of the Health Park. In the studio is Georgie Peterson, who's written this book, Freaks Like Us, and we've been talking about that with Heather this morning and her mum, Jackie. Right, what did we want to add to this, Heather? We were talking a few minutes ago off air about... amongst other things, eyebrows, which we'll talk about in a sec. And what else was it? Mind?
Well, we wanted to talk about Mind because you just mentioned to us how supportive they've been of you. It's not in the book.
Yeah, a few mental health charities have been really when you're not in therapy. Obviously, I'm lucky enough to be in therapy at the minute, but when you're not in therapy and you feel a bit like, I don't really want to put this on my mum or my sister or whatever, they're always there and they've been incredible, but Mind especially. So obviously it's not in the book because it was after publication, but I wanted a launch party. So I had no say in organising it. I get too stressed organising things. So my sisters did it and you, didn't you?
So what did you do for your launch party?
We went to Lakeside and I just had it looked like a wedding. It was like set up like a wedding, but it was lovely. We had a lovely night. Just mostly it was just people who I know personally, and everyone was so proud, and I didn't do a speech because I was so scared.
Did you get someone to do it for you? Do like your compere and introduce you? Yeah. Did you get a friend to do that by any chance? Or
yeah, my sisters both spoke.
Right.
I just couldn't. I was just so scared.
Did Austin Macaulay come up for it? One of the reps? No. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah.
It was just it was more of a personal thing.
Right, okay, yeah.
I wanted it to be something like that originally, but then I thought, we'll just keep it little. Maybe for the next one I'll have it more big.
I'm sure you will if it's a bigger book and it's...
the novel is already longer than that and I haven't finished it. So.
Well, that's good. Great.
Isn't it lovely how Georgie talks about the next one? So that must lead us on to another question. What else have you got planned for the future? We know about this second book that's nearly in fruition, and we know about hopefully the third one carrying on with the story.
I just don't know if
that's optimistic, isn't it?
I know, no, it's because Steve and I may feature in a book as well. Yes. But what else have you got planned for your life?
Well, I get a lot of messages about YouTube, and I do have a YouTube channel, but I'm not actually on there. It's my childhood dance academy did like a kind of trailer for the book, I suppose. I have my last radio interview on there, and what else have I got? Strictly. No, the Strictly tour. Strictly tour on there as well. But quite a lot of people message me and say, YouTube is so big and you've got a book out now and people will listen and people will watch, and I've been a bit like, and I have a lot of normal girl insecurities, I suppose. So I'm a little bit nervous about camera and stuff, but I would like to do that eventually. And I don't really have any other big plans.
Well, you've got your eyebrows appointment, haven't you?
I haven't made one yet. I need to make one.
Well, there's a plan for today then.
Absolutely. Because
what is sorry to interrupt. What is your new book going to be called? Have we got a title yet or not?
No title.
What's it about roughly? Can you say or not, or would you rather not?
No, I don't mind. It's quite sad. I would say it's quite sad, but it's got like funny bits. It's very family focused, and it's kind of, I suppose it's close to home in a way. It's something that happens that devastates, but it's about how each person copes
Right, sounds intriguing.
Rather than
Yeah.
the person it's happened to.
Oh, right, so a different perspective.
Yeah, but then kind of interspersed with it, I'm going to have like the person who it happens to having like a blog.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put little mini blog posts at the start
Oh,
of each
wow.
chapter.
Yeah.
So it won't ever be
right,
from
yeah.
the sufferer's perspective,
Yeah,
but it will have little bits of her in it. So,
brilliant.
Yeah.
So, if you want to listen or you want to read this first book, Freaks Like Us, you want to keep in touch with Geordie. Geordie?
Freaks like me. I know you're in.
You know what? I'm so mixed up this morning. Geordie and Freaks Like Us. Yeah, maybe I should
that'll
write a
be
book. Anyway, the book's
Georgie and
called
Freaks Like Me.
Freaks Like Me, and it's by Georgie or Georgina Peterson.
Georgina.
Yeah.
Georgina Peterson. But she likes to
Georgina
be
for
called
writing,
Georgie.
but Georgie for
Yeah,
every
yeah,
other part
right.
of life.
Now, you're on Twitter, aren't you? So
I
your
am.
Twitter handle is @G_Peterson1.
Yes.
You're also on Instagram, @GeorgiePeterson.
Yeah.
And you've got your own website, which is I've done it again. I've said
Yes,
Geordie.
you have.
It's GeorgiePeterson.com.
Yeah.
So, have we anything else to add to that?
Well, we have actually,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we've interviewed a few authors by now, but
We have.
we have to
We have.
say that actually, not only are you an inspiration to us, but it's actually been a privilege
Oh, thank
to
you so
meet
much.
you and to interview in the studio. Wouldn't you agree, Steve?
Absolutely spot on. It
So
has been
thank
quite
you.
moving.
Right back
Yeah.
at you.
So I'd like to say a big thank you this morning to Georgie Peterson, her mum Jackie Peterson, and to Heather for supporting me this morning on the programme. Thanks very much, guys, for coming in,
you.
and very good luck with the new book.